we're doing some work in our house, and so there's a lot of noise. I actually don't think you can hear it, thank goodness, but there is a lot of noise. So I'm here in our makeshift office for the week. This little kiddo, our little cat here, is quite scared because there's a lot of noises. And so I thought I would take the opportunity to film a video I've been meaning to film for a while, and that's how to make watercolor gift toppers. I make a lot of these and I often get questions about how I make them. So I thought I would show you. So this is what they look like. So you make these little watercolor gift toppers and you stick them on top of whatever wrapped gift you have. So I'll show you, I have a few here. Just as examples, they kind of look like this. There we go. And I thought I would show you how to make them. So I'm gonna get everything set up and then I'll show you how to do everything step by step.
Okay, so I'm going to start by making my flower, and for that I'm using some watercolor paper, and I'm using the thickest watercolor paper I have, and that's because you're going to be cutting out the shape, and you really want it to kind of hold its shape once it's cut out and to stand nicely on top of whatever gift you're going to be putting these gift toppers, so really look for a thick watercolor paper. And I'm going to paint some watercolor flowers, and I'm not going to be too precise about this because I'm actually going to go back once these are painted with a marker, a pen, and do pen lines. So make sure that you're kind of in a loosey-goosey mood, and you're not making petals that are, too detailed and too tightly shaped. You're really kind of looking for a general flower shape, but not too many details. I'm using a nice punchy neon pink to make my flower, and I'm making sure to use quite a bit of water because I'm going to go back in afterwards with some yellow to do the center of the flower and the very tip of the petals. And so I want to make sure that my pink layer is nice and wet so that when I put my yellow color in, it will kind of mix together and bleed through. So I'm going to let that just settle for just a second while I make my leaf, and I'm going to do kind of the same method. I'm going to make a pretty loose leaf shape. I'm using a very punchy green for this, and I'm making sure to leave some areas a little bit darker in color and some areas a little bit lighter. I find that that's really what looks the best, and I'm just making, as you can see, a pretty generic kind of easy leaf shape. That looks good. And I'm just adding in a little bit of color here and there to create those kind of shadows in darker areas and leave some of the lighter areas kind of be. So I think I'm just about done here. I'm just making sure that the shape looks exactly the way I want it to look. And I think those two colors look pretty nice together, the neon pink and the kind of punchy green. And then I'm going back in with the yellow that I just talked to you about, and I'm just doing the center of my flower, just that very, very center, and making sure that kind of the outer ring mixes with my pink. And I'm doing the same thing. It's nice to add a little bit of color kind of on the outer edge of those petals. And I think that's starting to look really nice. If you look at the finished flower that you see here, it looks pretty similar. And now I've let it dry, so make sure you let it dry completely. And I'm going in with a pen. This is a Jelly Roll black pen, and I'm just going around and doing the contour of the flower, and I'm going to add in some little details, and that's really kind of the key aspect here to make these look kind of whimsical, is to add little details. So little details in the center, little details on the petals. You could even add some little dots if you wanted. Whatever shape you think will kind of add little bits and pieces to our flowers. So I'm just making these kind of almost cone-shaped little arrow-like shapes, whatever you want to call them, on the outside of the center. And then I'm going to go and do the same thing with my leaf and make the outer kind of shape of my leaf, and then go in and do that center line, and then some little lines throughout just to kind of shape the leaf. There's no rhyme or reason here. Whatever you think looks nice. You could do little doodles, whatever you like. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the shape. So I've already cut out my flower, as you see here. So first you want to kind of cut the general shape, and then you want to go back in and really get into those kind of nooks and crannies. I think that really is what looks the nicest for the end result. So just take your time. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of that white line showing. It's kind of the style of these. So don't try to cut exactly to your watercolor line, and leave that little border. I think that really is what looks the nicest. And so I'm going to do the same thing with my flower afterwards and kind of cut them as much as I can. I'm about done here. That looks good. What do we think? I think that looks pretty nice. And then I'll go in with my flower here, and I'll do the same thing and kind of take my time just to be able to get the pair of scissors really into those smaller areas. And that really is why you want to use a thicker piece of watercolor paper. If you use something that's flimsy, you're really going to struggle with this step here, and then the shape in the end won't have that nice hold, and you'll just struggle a lot more. So make sure you're really using a watercolor paper that's on the thicker side, on the heavier side. So I'm just going ahead here. I'm almost done. I'm just going kind of in and out with my scissors, and it's actually fairly easy to cut. You'd think maybe the thick paper would make it difficult, but it's actually, with a sharp pair of crafting scissors, it's actually very, very easy. So I'm just about done here. And these shapes look really nice. You can do quite a lot of other things with them. Like you can use them for decorations on a table, for example. You could use them as place settings. You could use them in a variety of ways, but I really like the gift topper. I think it makes a simple gift look really good. So I'm showing you here, I'm using these double-sided stickers. I'll put the information down below. They're very easy to use. They're these kind of little squares here that you peel off and cut along the dotted lines, and then you'll see I'll be able to peel off one of the sides to create the first kind of sticky part and attach it to the back of each of my shapes. So here I just peel it off like so, and then you want to press it and give it a bit of a press so that it really adheres to the paper, and then I'll just peel the second kind of plasticky bit of the double-sided sticker, and then that's it. The other side is sticky, and you can stick it to whatever you would like. And so now I've just wrapped a gift using some simple craft wrapping paper, nothing fancy. And I've just used some raffia paper as kind of my ribbon, some raffia ribbon to kind of finish it off. And that's it. Now I'm going to peel the back of my double-sided sticker and then stick my shape right on top. It's as easy as that. And now that's it. Just stick them here. See, you can figure out what placement you want first. And then it sticks really, really well. It's nice and secure. And then you kind of get the almost kind of 3D effect because of the slightly wavy paper and the way it stands. And I'm going to do the same thing with my leaf. I like putting it right underneath the flower here. And that's it. If you like this video, I would love for you to give me a subscribe and a follow. I'll do more of these kind of crafty videos, and I hope you really enjoyed this one. Bye, everyone.